Hello, this is Esther Lynn, photographer for MMAfighting.com. I'd like to share some of my favorite moments from UFC 192. Fight week starts in Houston with an open workout at the Fighter Hotel. The fighters on the main card display a variety of striking and grappling technique on a small matted stage sandwiched between fans and media. Local sensation Sage Northcutt was added to the workout at the last minute, and the Katy Kid wowed the crowd with spins and flips, flying about the room. Then, light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier came out to greet the fans, and I wanted very much to have a photo where they were all together, so I asked DC to turn around while he was signing autographs. Cormier basked in the adoration, fully enjoying being champ. Cormier takes to being a champion like a natural. His presidential personality excels when smiling and shaking hands. The next day is media day, and it's endless interviews for the guys and gals on the card, so I just wandered, grabbing portraits and sneaking shots of the fighters as press make the rounds. There are some fun shadows in the room and glints of different color bleeding over from the windows of the Toyota Center. I try to catch a little bouquet here and there. The mood in the room seems to be pretty light, positive. Here, Angela Hill does a power pose as her interview with Ariel starts. I listen in on Cormier's large scrum. I like to watch people as they look around the room. There was a moment no one was interviewing Hendricks, and I thought it was a good time to steal a shot of him lost in contemplation. Across from Johnny, Gustafsson was listening to someone interview him, but perhaps his mind was elsewhere. In the middle of Ariel's interview with Rashad Evans, he called out to Ryan Bader, who sat across from him, "I'ma whoop that ass." I stood in between them on the concourse, amused. As media day wrapped up, I saw Rashad Evans and his teammates talking, so I asked for a group shot of him, Tyrone Spong, and Kamaru Usman. Cormier had most of his team with him as well, so we got everyone together for a picture. People think of MMA as an individual sport, but it's a team sport too. There are so many facets of fighting that need top expertise and guidance to hone the skills of a champion. Weigh-in day. News broke in the morning that Johnny Hendricks became ill while cutting weight and would no longer be competing at UFC 192. However, Tyron Woodley was ready to go and took to the scale to make a point of his professionalism. The rest of weigh-ins went as they do, with local team Northcutt getting a large pop even as his opponent Trevino missed weight. Ryan Bader and Rashad Evans had a little heat between them as they faced off, but look how intently Aaron Simpson and Tyrone Spong are watching the interaction between Bader and Evans. Daniel Cormier looks to be in great shape on the scale. As he and the challenger face off, the Swede blows a kiss at the champ, and Cormier waits, quietly simmering and studying Gustafsson, and whispers back, "I'm gonna whoop you." After the weigh-in, we reshot a segment of our preview show now that Johnny Hendricks was out, and the UFC crew began to tear down the weigh-in stage and continue preparing for tomorrow night's fights. The black curtain opened up, and there was the octagon under dim light, waiting for Saturday. It's fight night, and Houston heavyweight Derek Lewis opens the show with his self-described technical brawling style. To continue the wins for the local boys, Sage Northcutt impresses in his quick finish of Trevino, all the while that youthful zeal, smiling, shining. When Rose Namajunas fights, I tend to watch Pat Barry and study his steadfast support beaming out as he sings along with Rose's music. Namajunas is quick and efficient, returning to her surgeon-like submission game to get the job done. And for the win, Namajunas is showered with love from Pat Barry and from the fans along the tunnel as she exits the octagon. In the press room, undercard fighters come back for a post-fight scrum. Casey grabs portraits of them as they wrap up their interviews. Rose is proud, calm. Sergio Pettis runs through a few expressions, but I liked this snarl the best. Yair Rodriguez impresses again in a flashy fight with Daniel Hooker, full of ostentatious moves. Rodriguez seemed to slow a little in the third, but remained aggressive from the bottom with elbows. In the end, we find that Rodriguez broke his right foot in the first round, though I don't really think it showed in his performance, except perhaps it hampered his ability to get a finish. Boy, did that foot swell up, though. Now, 2 post-fight team photos in a row, Rodriguez is celebrating a hard-fought win, grimacing, last time from the altitude and now from the pain of his broken foot. In top flyweight action, Joseph Benavidez picked apart fellow former title contender Ali Bogatinov, but not without some gritty moments that left him with a cut over his left eye. When I saw the cut during the fight, my first thought was, oh no, the wedding, as Benavidez was getting married the following weekend. Benavidez, in his post-victory interview, said sweetly that he was going to marry the girl of his dreams. And as he walked past me here, I bet he was thinking, damn this cut though, as he considered the wedding photos to come. Ryan Bader then impressed in the co-main, shutting down Rashad Evans' long-awaited return to action. But we're here for the main event. TC runs out of the tunnel as he always does, cameraman chasing him through the outstretched arms of fans. He ascends the stairs, this time not as the challenger, but to defend his belt. Right off the bat, Cormier does what he's best at and lifts the Swedish challenger into the air and slams him. But Gustafsson has proved to be a hardy prize fighter with heart to spare, as he showed in his 5-round battle with John Jones, battling back and even surprising the former Olympic wrestler with a takedown. It was a war. People throw that term around when talking about fights a lot, but this one was gritty and grueling for both parties involved. Cormier pulled ahead in the late rounds, though Gustafsson could not be counted out at any point and kept pushing. As we waited for the 5th and final round to begin, I looked at both fighters, both nearly spent. Where would the energy to fight another round come from? How could there be anything left the way they've been battling? Cormier dug deep, barreling in for those grimy uppercuts in the clinch. He looked up at the clock as they struggled through the final minutes. When they finally separated, Gustafsson's face was so swollen, both their postures drooped. When that air horn sounded, both men put their arms in the air as they returned to their corners covered in blood. To me, it seemed clear that Cormier had defended his title successfully, but somehow it was a split decision. Still, it was a close, difficult fight, and that effort was not lost on the victorious champion. Cormier, exhausted and heart open, thanked Gustafsson, saying he'd made him a better man and fighter tonight, forever indebted to Alexander's performance. Cormier thanked him again. This was the kind of fight that forges a legacy, that shows us what beats inside of a champion, It was an arduous victory, and in that fire, he had formed a stronger heart. In the press room, the triumphant Yair Rodriguez had cleaned up and changed into a nice suit for the press conference, proudly standing with his mother and Coach Izzy here. The post-fight press conference was warm and positive despite the late hour. I couldn't help but be so incredibly proud of Cormier, from his pro debut in Tulsa, Oklahoma just a few years ago to this. And still, the light heavyweight champion of the UFC. Throughout all that, he has remained the same steadfast and kind person, a champion inside and out. This is Esther Lynn for MMAfighting.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in Melbourne.